Nice now it's gotten a bit cooler and we've got about 45 minutes to go to come up and see what my favourite cat on the reserve is doing, and I haven't seen him yet, so I haven't seen him this afternoon anyway, and I really want to see what he's up to. There's a couple of other vehicles here, so we'll just try and position ourselves nicely, but we're third in the queue, so we will take the back position and let the others have their nice view, and then we'll move up as time goes on, and that's how it works. Sir? How are you? Good, thanks, mate. So there's our boy. And he's certainly made a mark on that carcass from earlier when Pete found him. It was one of those situations where he just made the kill and had opened up the carcass and ate as much as he could, but now he's really tucking into that. I'm amazed that there's no hyena here yet. It's quite incredible. Oh, I love this cat. This is one spectacular cat. Just moving out of the way for Ephraim to get by. So we just let people move around the site and get to view the animal nicely. I think we can probably just now reposition ourselves back. Got a question from Tula and Annie, wondering how long we think it might be before the hyena and lion, or lion, and or both, find Q in this meal. It's a really hard one to answer, Tula and Annie, but you know what? It's just one of those luck of the draw things. I mean, if the wind's in his favour and it's blowing in a direction that there's no predators or scavengers about, he might have a little bit more time up his sleeve. The interesting thing about this is that that female kudu that he killed is probably about, well, I'd be saying about 4 times his body weight. Now, he would really struggle to get that anywhere else but where it is. He wouldn't be able to get that up a tree. It's just too big an animal. But what's incredible that he has the skill of this age and this size leopard. He's not fully grown yet to pull down an animal that size. It's quite incredible. Thank you so much for your question. So you might hear us shuffling about a little bit, and we're just sort of rearranging things in the vehicle to get prepared for. Sorry, he just stood up. Liam was just fixing something in the back of the vehicle, and he stood up and changed position. So that's why we had that little shot there. So the point of it is that we're sitting with him at the moment. No predators around at this point, but anything could happen. Anything could happen any minute. Got a great question from Paul in Indiana, and Paul, you're asking whether we have a smell of carrion already, like the smell that a carcass emits. I absolutely tell you can, Paul. It's not a bad smell. It's just a smell of fresh meat, really. We'd pulled up before, and as we pulled up, I definitely smelt it just as we came in on that track, coming up to the carcass. Not a bad smell at all. Sometimes you will smell the stomach contents or something like that, but it's not offensive at this point, that's for sure. But I definitely smelt it, Paul. So thanks very much for your question. I just got a question from John in Connecticut, and John wants to know, John's thinking it's getting dark, and you're right, John, it is. The light has dropped, the sun has gone below the horizon, and it will be getting dark soon. And your question is, doesn't he want to get that kill up a tree and get it out of the way? Well, there's two things that he's got going against him at the moment, John. It's the animal that he killed, as I think I touched on before, is actually about 3 times his body weight, potentially 4 times his body weight, and he wouldn't actually be able to take that up a tree. The second problem he has is that there aren't any trees around here that he could haul it up into. They're not tall enough. There's one I can see off in the distance, about 150, maybe 300, 400 feet away, but he wouldn't drag it across there. So I think what he's doing, and this is very interesting behaviour, that he's not stashing the food, he's gorging himself as much as he can possibly eat, because he knows that there's a potential of those predators and those other scavengers / predators coming around tonight, and he could lose the whole thing. Thanks so much for your question, John. I can't believe I'm sitting with this leopard again in less than 3, 4, 5 days. I can't remember. He's just the most coolest cat. He is just an absolute joy to be around, this cat. And every time you watch him, you see him getting bigger, and he's getting more handsome. He's just a cool looking animal. If we do get a chance to see that pattern or those markings down right at the base of his spine before he meets his tail, Brent and I call it the landing strip. It's some beautiful markings, but we just can't see them at the moment until you direct. Well, you can get them. That's kind of it. Yeah, that's kind of it, Liam. VM, fantastic, mate. They're actually equilateral on both sides. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those rosettes nearly match on either side of his spinal column there. And that's one of the markings that I pick up on cue. Always keeping his eyes open for exactly what we're talking about just then. Potential predators coming up. So he's had a bit of a meal. He's a little bit tuckered out. Bit puffed from all that eating. Look at the size of that belly. Keeping his eyes peeled and very alert. It could be another predator arriving any second. He's got his eyes over there. That glance, that stare, that gaze, that's leopard. That's what we love. Okay, he's comfortable. He's just looking around. He caught something. I'm just looking down there as well and to see if I can see anything. But you potentially will have hyena skulking around at some point. He's definitely been working out, eating all that food. He's puffed. And now he'll probably go into that ritualistic cleaning. Once he gets a handle on what's going on around him, start to lick his paws and clean himself up a little bit, give himself a bit of a bath. Got a really great question from Sam in Ohio. We're just about to have a vehicle start, Sam, so I'll just let that happen and I'll come to your question. I'm just going to see how this vehicle can get out of here. I'm just keeping a handle on that, so please excuse me, Sam. I'm coming back to you, but I'm just looking at the driver guide and hoping he's okay and I'm not in his way, and I think I'm fine. So Sam, your question is quite an interesting one, and I want to get to it, but I just want the vehicle to pass before I do that, if that's okay. We're just going to reposition our vehicle, folks, just to let this vehicle out properly. So just excuse me, Sam, I'm coming back to you. Thanks, Goodwill. Cheers, guys. Have a great night. Reposition. He's just walking off over there, and whilst he's walking off, I'll answer your question, Sam. And your question was, would bits of non-edible material, like sand and sticks and bark and things, get attached to to the carcass, and would he consume that? Well, the answer to that is yes, and actually that has sometimes a benefit for some animals, because that roughage and those other the dirt and the sand can also help with the digestion, and it might be accidental, but it would have no effect on him whatsoever. He is normally eating from the inside out, so it would be rare that he would consume massive amounts of non-edible material, and it'd be negligible really, Sam, in his diet. But great question, thanks for being on board with us today. You know, he's just sort of walked over quite a way there. I'm going to let him settle for a second, because he has had a big meal, and then I'm going to try and get in there somehow. Excuse me, please. Okay, we can see him, and I'm going to try and just see if I can get a bit closer to him, and then we can just settle down and go to close with him. So just bear with me, folks, for a second. A little bit of negotiation here. We're not going to go too close and disturb him, of course. We're just going to get close enough. But Q is such a beautiful animal, and he's so habituated to our vehicles. It's not an issue, I assure you. What do you reckon, Van? Can you see anything better up that way, mate? Oh, I can see him still. He's just over there. So folks, all we're doing is renegotiating our sort of position and making sure that we can still see him properly. He's just there, mate. I'm going to go in this way. Let's see if I can squeeze through. Now, a lot of these little branches that we go over sound a lot worse than they are, I promise you. They just go underneath the vehicle and spring back up. I can certainly smell the carcass now. Yeah, you can smell it now. It smells like, well, how do I put this politely? Interesting. He's definitely opened up the stomach cavity accidentally. It's all right, my boy. Okay, buddy. Sounds a lot worse than it is, folks, I promise you. It's just the sides of the branches on the vehicle. How's that for you, Liam? There's our boy. A little bit of grass in the way, but hey ho, we'll survive. And we'll watch this ritualistic bathing now. So we'll just watch it just go a little bit. I could roll a bit forward, but I think I'm going to get that stick in the way. So we're just going to watch him do his little bathing ceremony, cleaning up his pores, keeping himself in perfect, magnificent condition. So Sam, I hope I answered your question properly. There would be a negligible amount of foreign matter, foreign material on the carcass, and it would not be detrimental to his system at all. If anything, potentially aid in digestion or moving it through, but it's not an issue at all. For any of you that have got cats out there, I think you've probably seen this before with your cats. got a lovely question from Tina in Houston, and it's a great question actually, because he might not be able to put his kill up a tree, but Tina, your question is, does he have a tree that he can get up in himself to escape hyena or lion or wild dog for that matter? And the answer to that is yes. Just behind him, VM, if you were just to widen that shot a little bit and just go out up to the right, about sort of 1 o'clock for you. There's a tree there. See that, folks? That tree there's I think that's a perfect leopard tree. I'd go up that if I was getting chased by a hyena. That's a cracker. Look at those horizontal branches, but he'd be safe up there, that's for sure. Yeah, so there is a couple around, but he would never be able to haul this carcass up there. He might eventually get a piece of it off, I'm not sure. He might try and tear a leg or something like that and get that up there, so that is a possibility. He's definitely made a mark on this carcass, so let's see what happens there. But this is a work in progress for him, a definite work in progress, and we're so lucky to be with him. I read in a book once, and it was a line I'll never forget, and it was this one sentence it hit me about the leopard, and it said, the leopard is the embodiment of power, beauty, and feline strength, or something along those lines anyway, but it's so true. Yeah, I think it was the embodiment of feline beauty, power, and strength. That's what it was, and I'll never forget that, because that is for me what a leopard is. Have a look at that. Nice question from Brian in Toronto about what I just mentioned about potentially taking off a limb and taking that up a tree. Brian, he potentially would do that. Your question is, could he tear off a limb and take it up a tree? Well, there's definitely a possibility. If he chewed through one of the hind quarters or the hip bones or something like that, he could take that up. But I just don't think he's got the energy at the moment. He's plumb tuckered out there. He's really just trying to cool down from that big eating extravaganza. We all know what it feels like after a big Sunday roast. Well, I'll tell you what, animals go through the same things, particularly big predators. When they've had a big feed, they just end up rolling over and try to digest their food. You see it with lions a lot. After a big meal, they lie down with these massive bellies and they just sleep and sleep and sleep. Folks, I'm just going to make a call to radios that I'm on this leopard queue, and if anyone wants to come and join, they're welcome. So please excuse me for a second. All radios on lock, on Ingwe, on Philibin's Cutline, one vehicle only, animal static. Feel free to join. I might just put a little bit of wash over him now. Now I just want to slowly do this, so bear with me, folks. You might just hear a little bit of rustling around and taking handbrakes off and things, so I can move across the other side of the vehicle. I just want to turn one of these lights away from him at the moment, and then I'm going to just gently wash it over him. So I don't want to startle him. He'd be absolutely fine with it, but I think it's just out of respect. Out of respect more than anything. So we just turn this light on now, and I'm just going to turn it around. So it's just a little wash of light over him. It just improves our pictures, and it certainly doesn't hurt him. He's actually turned his back to us, which is even better for the light. Yeah, he is so completely tired from that meal. So folks, what you can hear at the moment is our game drive channel. We've got a situation where we're changing radios at the moment, and we're using handhelds which we don't have earpieces for, so we've just got them on, and you might hear a little bit of chatter like that. I think some of you find it very, very interesting, because we've had loads and loads of emails and tweets I've had saying, wish we could hear the game drive channel. So you do hear loads and loads of chit-chat about where's this animal, I'm on this animal, and that sort of thing. But the reason why we have it in our ear is just because it makes it's quite confusing to listen to if you're listening to someone speak as well. But anyway, if you hear that little beep beep like that, that's someone talking. I've got the radio turned right down now. Heidi in Burlington. Hi Heidi, and welcome to you. And you've just joined us where we're sitting here with this beautiful... Well, you haven't just joined us, you've been watching. I do apologise. You're watching us now with this fantastic cat, and your question is, do you think Kanuma, his brother, would potentially come around and try and take something? It's not impossible, that's for sure, but unlikely. They have a tendency to, majority of the time, avoid each other. Majority of the time. You've obviously seen on Wild Safari Live sometimes where some of the individuals have met up, and I'm just trying to rack my brain on who it was, because I remember watching it live in London at the time, and I was absolutely amazed that they were together. I'm not sure if it was Karula and Kanuma or who it was, but you know, you'll occasionally get the leopards meeting up. The interesting thing about this situation is Karula has still got these two boys of hers sort of crossing over her home range and sort of territorial areas that she's tolerating. When her cubs, if she is pregnant, who knows, I don't know, comes, that may all change. But there's some really sort of interesting behaviours going on at the moment, and the whole process, the whole territorial change is about to occur with all these different leopards and the concentration. But we're going to touch more about all of that on the weekend, on the talks on Saturday and Sunday night on the fireside chats. We don't know. There's loads of stuff to talk about, but we'll probably leave it till then, I'd say. But highly unlikely that we see him tonight, but it is not impossible. Thanks so much for your question. So folks, we're going to just cross across to Pete and say goodnight to him, and then I'll come back and say farewell to you as well. So let's cross over to Pete and see what he's up to, and we'll be right back.
Well, welcome back this side, and brilliant leopard viewing. Nice to see him feeding again, and also good to know that so far, at least, touch wood, the food hasn't been stolen. So we know that Q's got a couple of good feeding sessions in, his belly is full, so everything he keeps from now on is just a bonus. We've been driving around Impala Plain, Sandy Patch, more sort of towards the western parts of Djuma, at beautiful female leopard tracks. I'm guessing Karula, up and down, they're quite active. We didn't find anything further. I know Brent and them were looking earlier as well. Somewhere around there, so certainly, I mean, still now, it's not impossible you bump into her, but I think for the morning, something to look forward to. I would love to see Karula at least once, if not more, but one good view of her before the weekend, or over the weekend would be even better. On Mother's Day would be great. Imagine seeing Karula on Mother's Day. I'd love that. In fact, we're going to talk about Karula on Mother's Day a little bit, because she's such a great mother with such a great history in this place. But that's for tomorrow, that's for the next drives. For now, I'm going to say good night, unless there's any questions still. Sorry, I think we might have had one question that was mentioned earlier. Let's just see who's coming along here. Cheers guys, have a nice evening. Yeah, I was there earlier. Alright guys, thanks man. Cheers. Okay. Yeah, straight. Bye bye. Cheers. Sorry guys, it's some of the landowners, just to say hello to them. Hello John, from Scotland. I don't have a great Scottish accent, I wish I did, it's one of the great accents. But John is just asking, how far would Kanyuma and Q move out when they go and find their own new territories? In other words, how far would they move away? John, and that's quite a wide spectrum answer. They could move away a few kilometers until they find an area that they can hang around in for a while, or they could move many kilometers. So they could move 1 or 2 miles, or they could move 30, 40, 50, 60 miles, further even than that. But it depends on, it's more important to understand why they would move. In other words, at the moment, they're staying almost longer than what is typical for male leopards to stay in their mother's territory. They're almost 2.5 years old. But it's not unusual. I mean, normally around 2 years old, they start moving off. So they're being tolerated a little bit longer by their mother, but especially by the father, the dominant male in this area. And the fact that it is still their father plays a big role. Mvula is the male here. If this was, let's say a year ago, a new male moved in here, that would have put much more pressure on them. So this is in their benefit as well. And it's good, it gives them some extra time to really get big and strong before they move away. But when they move here, so let's say 2 to 3 years old is when the male moves, he's not going to just take over a new area somewhere. He's not going to become dominant suddenly. He's going to have to find a new area first, and that normally happens only at about 4 years old, but normally around 5 years when they're big enough and mature enough to successfully compete for their own territory. So when that happens, they can set up a new area. Now that could be by killing one male in a fight, which is possible. But more often than not, it's just creating a little breathing space. So maybe they have a fight with the male and they don't necessarily kill him and take over the whole area. They might just fight with him or compete a bit and just squeeze him out a little bit. Some of these leopards have got very large areas, the males. We're talking 10, 12, 15,000 acres, even more, 10, 12, 15,000 hectares. So we times about 3. So let's say anything from 20 to 40, 50,000 acres that they can move through. So it's more about just sort of creating a bit of, like moving your shoulders like this, just creating a little bit of space around him and pushing out another male and creating an area, or maybe even killing another male. And then only will they be dominant males. So from age 2, 3 maybe, when they leave the mother's home range or territory, until about 4 or 5. So at least for 1 to 3 years, anywhere in that time frame, they are nomads. And in that time, they've got to avoid other big males and sort of just move around quietly until they're big enough to compete for their own area. Right, from my side, we've got about 10 minutes left to the game drive. So I know that you want to go back to those leopard. That's what I would want to do. I'm not going to keep you too much longer. You can go join HT for the last part of the evening. Maybe something happens. We still don't know. Hyenas could arrive there any second. Lots of things could happen. Tomorrow morning, lots to look forward to. More leopards, see what's going on with Q's kill, see if Gorilla maybe pops out, and also just all the new surprises that goes along with a new day. So for now, we're going to say goodbye. Brian, thank you very much. Good job on camera. The two lovely ladies back in control room. It was an awesome drive. And for myself, Pieter Pretorius, thanks so much for joining us. We will see you back here again, alive and wild, out in Africa. So see you in the morning. Bye-bye.
So he hasn't done much since we left and crossed over to Pieter, folks. He's just laid down. He looked up a couple of times. We thought there might have been hyena coming through. Who knows what this stage could unfold tonight. It could be anything from a dramatic time for him and retreating, or it could be him laying here and having another big feast tomorrow or later on during the night. But we will never know until tomorrow morning. And I just wanted to answer a few more questions before we go. And we've got about 8 minutes to go. But he's asleep there in the grass. We've got a really good question from Sean. I have to say, Sean, this did cross my mind as well, mate, so thank you so much for your question on Twitter. Sean's asked, am I surprised that the hyenas haven't shown up yet? I'm really surprised, Sean, seeing as at the bottom of the hill, like probably 500 metres away from here is a hyena den. So I'm really surprised, Sean, but I think it's only a matter of time. And we're just having a look with the light at the moment around. Hyenas are very, very quiet as well. They move silently, so they could turn up right behind us, and before we know it, they're actually on the carcass. But Q would definitely give us a signal for that, because he would become very alert at that situation. But great question, Sean, and thank you very much. Yes, it has crossed my mind several times during this encounter. And we will see, mate. And tomorrow morning will be a much sort of give more clarification on that, and we'll definitely pick up on that. Thanks so much. Folks, I just want to have a quick drink of water. Wow, this is a good question. This is a fantastic question. Sharon, in Texas, your little boy wants to know, do leopards all have the same spots? Well, I didn't quite get what your little man's name is. Oh, is it Jackson? It's Jackson. Yes, Jackson. How are you, buddy? I can't believe you're watching that all the way from big, beautiful Texas, and here we are in Africa, my friend. And you've asked a fantastic question, my boy. Do leopards all have the same number of spots? Well, no, they don't, mate. It's a little bit like if you look down at your finger right now, Mummy will show you.